Hello YouTube, Matt here from Forensics with Matt, back again in Belkasoft X for a second Belkasoft video. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about iOS forensics with Belkasoft X and kind of comparing that to you with my findings of what I've done on my iOS test image by hand. So without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, Matt, back at you again, back here in Belkasoft X with a fully processed iOS image, and you'll see all these folders, but what we want to do is we want to go into this one over here, which will have every single thing right here that we need, all of the things that I want to show you guys today. But before that, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my sponsor, KeysFan.com. Hey everybody, I'm back with KeysFan.com, and with KeysFan.com, what you're gonna have is you're going to have the ability to get very cheap license keys for OEM software. So for instance, one software that they offer that I think many of you guys will like is they offer Windows keys for next to nothing. So I know back in the day when I was getting the computer right here that I have, I wanted Windows 10 Pro, but I did not want to pay hundreds of dollars for it. So it just so happens that they offer a Windows 10 Professional license, or even a Windows 10 or Windows 11 Professional license, I should say, for next to nothing compared to this price of $214.21, which they suggest as MSRP. So with the new Windows 11 Professional, it can be had for a very cheap price. You can get it for $30, but you'll be able to take a 50% discount off of this sale price with my discount code of SA50 at checkout. And there's a similar story with Microsoft Office. So if you need Microsoft Office, you can get that for 62% off with my code SA62. And I bet you know how to enter keys in on your own PC and activate your Windows the way it was intended to be activated, but these keys will work 100% of the time, because I've tested this on multiple machines and it works amazingly. So I hope that you guys would really like to save a ton of money on getting your PCs up and running with keysfan.com. Now back to the video. So hey everybody, we're back in Belkasoft X, and now let's take a look at the artifacts in iOS. Now with this one, the artifacts in iOS are such that we have all of this stuff. So what I find here is that in these folders, in these miscellaneous folders, behind this audios, everything in these zip folders are going to be something from an app like pictures. So this Wireshark Helper image right here is from the app Wireshark Helper. And each of these apps, for some reason, has its pictures outside of certain pictures. And these are not KTX files as you might see them on a device, somewhere on a device. I'll put that link up on screen now where you would see it in your path. But once we get down towards here and towards the audios, you can see that there's a whole bunch of different audios that Belkasoft X found from my test device. So it just so happens that most of these might be ringtones, and some of these may be from other apps. So open files. Open file with the default application. I'm going to try opening it with the default. application with my media player and see if that is... Okay, this is probably an audio clip from some app that took audio from somewhere. Okay, this is from some language learning app, but I think you get the point that there's a bunch of audios here. I'm trying to find a song. Oh, that's probably from Duolingo. Yeah, that should be from Duolingo. And let's see, this audio is from a language learning app called Language Drops. Let's see. So yeah, it seems like all of these seem to be from language learning apps, as I can see. And now we have some internet stuff, internet browser artifacts right here. So we have favorites here, and it's not that much, because the browser that I put here was not configured to have any favorites, any bookmarks, really. So there's a cache of a bunch of sites for which you see quotation service, and I think I went to a bunch of sites here. Just there's a bunch of sites, some Pale Rain, because I was trying to download Pale Rain stuff onto this device before actually getting the image on my own. And so we're going to see a bunch of that in the URLs. And this is the URL cache that we find from the actual, it should be from the Safari database, safari.db or safarihistory.db. That's where it should be sourced from, and a lot of these are deleted for some odd reason. So it's been doing a lot of research on phones and other stuff. Phones and languages. And other apps. But anyway, it parsed out Telegram data. So this is from the TX stinking Telegram. I'm going to move on. And it has documents down here. A lot of stuff from Duolingo. Let's let some of these things download or render themselves. Because I went down too fast. Okay, but anyways, as you can see, there's a lot of data here. We have 5,037 documents to run through. And some of the applications that I installed on this, including all of the Apple ones. We could see here somewhere, probably. And we could see here that the package name is say that Extinking Wireshark Helper. This is the Wireshark Helper app. This is the Storm Sniffer app. This is Telegram, Drops, language drops, and other stuff. Okay, sorry for the cut there. Let's get back and get into emails. So from the email client, we find my fake email address for a person named Dirk Dickerson, a fake account in which we have a bunch of AWS emails and other things from Duolingo and other business. And we have recent contacts from other people. And yeah, that's just about it. apple.tapatio.31@gmail.com. Okay, and for this email address, we have some contacts here. Okay. And some SMS messages. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's some personal ones in here. But yeah, you can see that it parses out text messages too, which is one of the cool things that it does. And it parses out calendar data too, which is literally just the basic calendars that it has, so nothing much interesting going on here. It parses out health data that was used to track steps. And several meters were traveled. And this, for your information, is in the original path of private var mobile library health db secure.sqlite, and under samples, under the samples table of that. And when it comes to this driver, there's geolocation data. I don't want to give away my location. Okay, there's 3 different types of notes here for some reason. Why are there 3 different notes here? Oh yeah, I think that's why. Because some of these notes were edited at some point, and edited notes probably create a new entry on this list. which is pretty interesting. But yeah, these are some of the notes that I put on here to populate it with stuff. And no voicemail since this phone was not used as a phone. And this was used with 2 different hotspots or 2 different Wi-Fi, one Wi-Fi hotspot and one actual network. And this is an IP list. This can be found at, this type of data can be found at under Preferences, System Configuration, com.apple.wifi.private map and networks.plist. Global, okay. And now there's a bunch of pictures on this device. And we can see here an assortment of all of these pictures. The stuff from Telegram. And other cache stuff from other apps. And also screenshots too, and pictures from me. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go into our knowledge.c.db. And we're going to find in this languages database or languages area that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different languages. As I should have been able to read on the side right here, there's 9 different languages that it parsed out. And this goes under private var mobile library preferences global preferences.plist. And then under root.apple languages, and then during the items. And global preferences.plist accounts 3.plist. We're going to find here that there's a bunch of repeats of the different accounts for different data sources here. And accounts 3.plist again, or accounts 3.sqlite, I should say. This gives us this type of thing. And we're back here again with the second version of accounts.plist, or accounts.sqlite. Why am I saying plist? But anyways, with that, we're gonna find some apple.tapatio31@gmail.com stuff accounts, some local accounts, and the DDigman account from Dirk Dickerson. And some And some of these are from Apple services and others are from other services that are not under the com.apple domain. So now we're going to go into Bluetooth configurations. We're going to find no Bluetooth configuration, a blank cellular configuration, no cellular configurations, nothing written to the cellular database. And we're going to look at mobile Bluetooth next. And this is just all the Bluetooth devices that the Apple device saw. And this Bluetooth devices also shows what some of these are paired and not paired. Actually, so paired devices just so happen to be my iPhone and my MacBook because I've used AirPlay to do them. And at least right now that's my working theory. I'd assume that I want to test that out right now. But since I've connected to these devices and these have Bluetooth on, I think that that's the case why they are there. And then these are all the Bluetooth devices around me that I haven't connected to and that it has found. So this is quite a lot of information here. So the assumption here is that all of these devices that I would see here that I will go through are just around me, broadcasting their signal, and I can connect to them if I want, and if I have the credentials to do so. And I'm going to say after paired devices, so yeah, my MacBook and my iPhone. And we have serial number of phone. I don't know if I should show this whole thing. So what I might do in editing is I might blur this out in editing. And so this database, the consolidated.db, doesn't show much. It just shows the device identifiers. And those being all the IDs. This data arc.plist shows the name. And then in the root of it, we see all of this, the name, the region. Okay, no. Okay, the region that it was, the international language, among other things, we see the language or the international region of it. We see its time zone. We see its operating system version. We see its actual international language locale. We see its device name, and we see the time since 1970, so the timestamp of activation. And so if we move on to process statistics here, we find a lot of processes that were running. And we find the dates that they were last, the start time, the last encountered, and last executed date, along with the bundle ID of those. So the bundle ID is essentially just what's at the end of this string of display names. So it goes UUID of this, and then this bundle ID. And this bundle ID is just essentially the application. So this Apple TV com.apple.tv is the Apple TV application, and that Apple TV application would be matched with a UUID such as this. Or actually, I may have made a mistake here. So this is the device UUID or UDID or some information about the device. Okay, so if we go to this, the SQL table that this is in, we're going to see names of processes that were names of the primary keys. That anything in here would be names of primary keys of anything in here that would be used. And so this shows us that there is this information. Okay, we'll come back to that. So then there's user groups. So the user groups that the processes on this device used. And so you always see all these. And then again, more user groups. And this. And in this history.log with the installed packages through apt, we're going to find that this is the OpenSSH client server as well as the whole overarching OpenSSH package, as well as zipping programs and unzipping programs, as well as files that we're going to find those there. And I'm pretty sure if you've jailbroken a device by yourself, by hand, you'd know that some of these packages are part of jailbreaking. So for instance, this FileZip program right here is something that I got by jailbreaking. And OpenSSH is also gotten by jailbreaking, and it's needed to pull data off of this phone. As well, unrar can be used to pull data from compressed sources on the phone itself. And these are 100% not installed on the phone because they're in RAM or some such thing close to it, because this phone is jailbroken and a jailbroken phone doesn't have these, can't have these types of files on it by default. And once you turn off the phone or reset the phone or put a password on the phone, you're gonna have these apps be deleted from your phone. And when it comes to knowledge.c.db, this is one of my favorite artifacts from iPhone. Because as you'll see here, when I go to this SQLite table, this SQLite table, you're going to find a whole lot of information about what's going on the phone at whatever times. So the first thing I want to direct your attention to is this is the object table. And this is what I like looking through to find about all the activities of the phone. So some of the major data that we have here is the creation date of the process and also the local creation date. So this creation date here would be a UTC timestamp, whereas this one would be in whatever time zone that you have associated with the phone. So for me, it's essentially 8 hours behind that, 7 to 8 hours behind, just depending on daylight savings time. And same as original for these two, and these two are in UTC. And ZUUID and the stream name and the value string are the most important parts of this, because they tell you the UID of the process, and the stream name tells you what type of process it is, and the value string tells you about where it comes from, the app that it originates from. So some of these will be from iPhone apps, and others I'm not sure if what I'm looking for is in here yet. com.apple.safari. So com.apple.safari is Apple Mac app, and this is also a Mac app. So yeah, it does. KnowledgeC.db is cross-platform, which is very interesting to me, since I would never think that it would sync like that, but it does. And again, you can see another app here, Citrix Viewer from the Citrix Workspace app. And whereas the SQLite DB browser, Discord, and calendar and stuff. So yeah, you see that it's Mac and iPhone apps. And there's also some hashes here for hashes spaced by the system. And then we can find histogram value. And in the histogram values table, we find counts of the histogram. We find metadata about some of the processes. And some of the processes that it shows here are shortcut metadata from shortcuts, compatibility versions, and actually, at least for me, it's just the shortcut metadata. But for you, it might be different. And in this contextual change registration folder, I'll come back to that. So this is just basically events for me from tips and the Apple Duet process. Ooh, these are... Ooh. That's very nice. So these are activities. These Z identifiers here are something related to, where is it? Z object. In my Z object table down here, there's something related to these intents that you see here. or the stream name is somewhat related to these stream names. So you'd see here events, event type, HomeKit, HomeKit scene, app launch registration, system airplane mode, comments home, and all this other stuff here seems to be on first view. On the first view, this seems to be activity data from certain on-device apps that are Apple processes through the Duet activity stream. And through other activity streams, and it seems to be that. The custom metadata, custom, yeah, we've been through that. And so these have primary keys for certain activities here that we can ultimately look through and find what we really want. And these are also histogram related keys. And in the Z source table, we can find primary keys again, which can be correlated with things in this table over here. Actually, this reminds me I should do a further deep dive into the Knowledge C database and see if I can update my video on knowledgec.database on the channel. Because after looking at this database here in Bulkasoft X, I think I want to update that video. So if you're watching this and want to know more about this knowledgec.db, please feel free to stick with the channel. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and maybe another video on this knowledgec.db using the raw database, so that you'll be able to see all of the stuff that it really has inside it and a more further explanation of this compared to what I have now and what I've done before. But anyways, this ZSyncer shows data was synced between my iPhone model number 14.2 and Mac 15.6, which is my iPhone 13 Pro and my MacBook Pro 2023. And this is data that sunk from my podcasts. You'll see that huge long link. I'm just showing this huge link right here. Yeah, you've seen enough. So yeah, more data from podcasts was used. Yeah, more podcasts, and we have some weather data here. Yeah, this had some intents to play podcasts and also intends to change or change, modify, or view the local city in the weather database, or in the weather app, I should say. And in this Z key value table, we see keys and values from the various domains. So from DuetKit, from things like DuetKit Cloud Utilities, DuetKit Sync, Kit Known, and DuetKit Sync 3 Coordinator. So it shows a lot of stuff about that stuff. And now back up here to this application activity, we will find that. It also has a description here of what each activity was. So from this mobile Safari right here, we see that it went to theminimalcompany.com, as well as some other ones. And we'll also see that some other ones went through the Photos app. We'll see that this went to a YouTube channel. And so we see a lot of activity from Safari, because Safari was one of the main apps that was used on this phone, as well as the Duolingo app, but it doesn't seem to show that Duolingo app here. Application usage. It has the intent class of /app/usage. And in this case, it shows all the apps that were used. So we see Duolingo, we see language drops, we see Telegram, and we see other things used. And com.apple.finder. So again, as we saw in the actual Z object table, Belkasoft X also finds when usage is shared between a Mac and an iPhone. And so it shows shortcut usage from podcasts and iBooks. And this is more web usage links from the actual real Safari. And yeah, I'm just looking at some of these that I went through. Okay, it's crazy. I'm not going to go through all of these. Crazy. Crazy that it actually does this. That I didn't turn off syncing stuff between my Mac and my iPhone. Yeah, but anyways, that's enough knowledge. Enough from that. And now we see all of the device is locked activities. So it was locked many times. I counted 570 locks. Display is backlit, so it is turned back on. So somehow it counted more turn-ons than turn-offs. And now for media statistics, we find podcast information here, podcasts to listen to, because I listen to podcasts sometimes. And we actually find radio station listens as well. More TBTL show, and some Iron Maiden that I like to listen to. Yeah, more TBTL podcast. And yeah, you get the point there. So in this case, we're going to find that the intent class or the intent category we'll say is /media /now playing. And this shows that information, so you can look for this to find instances of all these. And now we're getting towards the end of this here. Actually, we have quite a ways to go, but we're getting very close to the end of this. So the last build info of this, what we find in this plist file is we're going to find basically the last build info, like the last build and the last iOS build. So in this case, we find iOS 16.7.10, and we find the build ID of this as well as the product build version. And we find macOS Autorun. And we find Autorun daemons here. We find the helper to the Files app that I introduced earlier with earlier in the apps that are downloaded, or the apps that are installed but not actually installed on the device. The jailbreak apps as well as ATRun. So we find that 3 of them are not. Okay, they're all enabled, but 3 of them are not actually installed on the device. But this ATRun should be installed on the device because it has Apple naming to it. Now, network interfaces, there are 3 network interfaces here. It doesn't show much except the origin path. So on your device, if it's, I believe, 16 or older, 16 or older or newer, you could find it at something like here on your device. And so the device makes separate accounts for each of the services that it has on it. And so again, this has information about the accounts of the device, and it shows the root user, it shows the unprivileged user, the nobody user, haha, that's funny. And it shows all the security related daemons as well as log things, services to log on the phone, the GPS stuff, and other business. And this is important because we can easily go through this and we can find all the places that have this and look through them to find evidence related to whatever they used or whatever they had on them. And this is information about photos. And so we have some GIFs, we have some HEIC images, we have some MPEG-4 video files, and we also have PNGs. And so we're going to see IP settings that are VPN stuff, automatic settings, and DHCP settings. And we can see, since this is a plist, it has the tree-like structure, or the treed structure. And it shows all the properties of these interfaces. And so you can see here, as I go through all of these, you can check out some of the information that you can find. From system, from network, host names, local host name. So this is a whole host, local host name. System. And is that it? Have I revealed everything about the device? VPN information. And so we see that this extension or application that I have on the phone creates a VPN with it. So AdBlocker X, that's an ad blocker that I have that blocks ads on Safari. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it with this. I'll just reveal these, IPv6. And so this Wireshark Helper app here has a pretty interesting string. And yeah, that seems to be about it for this, so yeah, there's information about network services here, where each of these can be found, and this is the plist that it comes from. And so if we go through, at least on my device, I don't know if this is And yeah, so there's probably a lot of that very detailed structure of the tree. So yeah, you'll find that type of idea there. And we'll have network settings. And note down these addresses here, for which you'll find these settings. And yeah, so this file right here shows all the network interface settings, and okay, it shows all of the network settings and how they go along with each other. And proxy exceptions, it shows four apps or four values of proxy exception. So exceptions that were made based on proxies. So remember earlier when we talked about the Blocker X application and the Wireshark helper and all of those other ones? So the exceptions made by those apps, or for those apps I should say, would be posted up in here. And then preferences.plist shows nothing. And installed packages shows all the packages installed on this iPhone. And actually this seems like not only through the actual Apple itself, but also through jailbreak. Some of the jailbreak packages are in here too. So yeah, we see stuff for camera, microphone, minimum screen scale. So all of the screen scalings and text sizes, some graphics, some launch time limit display, some front-facing camera and back-facing camera. Oh, do I see liquid corrosion detection, liquid detection, corrosion help? So yeah, some very necessary packages are on here. And so we again have another plist that shows our iPhone version, one of the many. And actually, I don't think we have to go through these because they show some of the same information. But at some point you can end up locating these all on your own in your own image. But at least for now, I think we're done with this iOS image, and this shows me several places that we could find other iOS videos to make to further explain these artifacts for you guys. So in the meantime, between now and those videos, I'll make them, and I think you're gonna enjoy them very much. But at this point, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a bit from it about iOS forensics. And between now and the end of the video, I'd like to say, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you liked it, or if you have any questions about any of these things. And it is Matthew of Forensics with Matt signing off. Have a nice day, and Matt out.